The problem with, I guess, the old bookkeepers was you don't get the prior month might take 2, 3, sometimes like 4 weeks to be reconciled. With Finaloop, it's basically instantaneous. With the bookkeepers, you get a profit and loss and you get a balance sheet that they're just, exporting off of QuickBooks. There was no value. With Finaloop, you have those reports, but then you also have a bunch of other stuff and a bunch of other tools that are useful. It's a technology platform. It's leveraging AI. I like all the integrations, a tool specifically built for e-commerce companies.
Hi, this is Rayla from Finaloop. Join me as I sit down with real brands to hear how they got real-time visibility into the health of their business. These are honest conversations about what works, what doesn't, and why Finaloop became part of their journey.
So my company's called Luma Nutrition. We are an e-commerce health supplement company, and we got started in about 2017. And it was kind of just a side project for me for a long time. And then with COVID, things really started to take off because everyone was interested in health at the time. And then I was in a position to kind of dedicate more time to it and just started applying. I come from a marketing background, and so initially Luma was just an Amazon business, but then I decided to start applying all of my marketing skills, more to the Shopify side, and so that's when things really started to take off. That along with COVID, um, and so yeah, so now that's all I've been focusing on for the last 5, 6 years or so.
Wow. And I guess, I mean, obviously, I remember we spoke of, was it about a year ago? Maybe a little bit less, before you joined Finaloop. But I'd love to just hear a little bit about what your financial stack was before Finaloop, what you were using for your bookkeeping, just general
Yeah.
in terms of like the process that you had before.
Initially, I think like the very first thing I used was Bench,
Mm-hmm.
and that initially I used them because I was doing affiliate marketing, and which was fine for that purpose. But then once I started doing more e-commerce, and now you have the inventory component, and you should be doing accrual accounting, and the balance sheet, tracking that properly matters a lot more. Bench just was not a good fit. So then I just found a bookkeeper. I went through a few different ones, and the problem with all of them was just that they're generalists. And even actually I ended up going with one that was supposed to be e-commerce focused, and it just they did not understand some of the specific requirements of e-commerce, specifically with handling inventory and things like that. So I just was never satisfied with their competence, and we would always have problems come tax time that would delay things. And then in general, just the I'm not sure what the value add ever was, because we'd use QuickBooks, which would categorize things automatically sometimes, and then the bookkeeper would come in, and because they weren't e-commerce experts, they would oftentimes categorize things the wrong way, and then I'd have to go in and fix things. So I'm not sure like that I ever felt great about the advice and kind of and the things that were happening, and I would have to go in and fix a lot of stuff. So I'm not sure like how much time I was really saving.
Mm-hmm.
So I never felt totally great about my experience at any of those. And so when I heard about Finaloop, and that it was a tool specifically built for e-commerce companies, and then just the general good recommendations that I was getting from colleagues, that I felt like it was a good opportunity to switch.
Okay, fantastic. So what would you say that did you find that the main pain point that kind of made you want to look for a new solution was related to the lack of e-commerce expertise that your previous provider had?
That's a big one. The lack of e-commerce expertise, the fact that I'm not sure that I really was saving much time,
Mhm.
because I still have to go in and fix things. And then I just was never confident come tax time. Like, okay, did they actually do all this right? Especially, there would just be weird stuff with inventory that just didn't make any sense. It was always like a disaster going back and forth about adjustments and things. It just was. I never felt good that they were doing things the right way.
Mhm.
And um and what I liked about Finaloop, it was specialized for e-commerce. I also just the thing about previous bookkeepers was that, yeah, I didn't feel great about their competence, and they weren't like cutting edge. It was really just basic stuff, and the effort was basic, and the innovation was there was no innovation. So the
Mhm.
other like appealing thing about Finaloop was it's a technology platform. It's leveraging AI. I like that all the integrations that that they had. So like we and we have like Settle integrated now, and all these other things that just like I that just makes sense to me. I want the technology to be evolving, and then also like on the reporting side with the bookkeepers, you get a profit and loss, and you get a balance sheet that they're just exporting off of QuickBooks or whatever. So there there was no value
Mhm.
in that. And with Finaloop, yeah, you have those reports, but then you also have a bunch of other stuff and a bunch of other tools that are useful. And so it's just so a lot of it was the innovation and the technology and the specialization. So those are the main key points.
Okay, great. I know you mentioned that you felt like your previous bookkeeper, you didn't save a lot of time. About how much time were you spending on your books in the with the old process?
It's not like it was a massive amount of time, but I would just have to go and recategorize things. And if there was problems, it would take me, if there was something more than just a miscategorization, it would take me more time. Whereas with Final Loop, I can email support, and usually they'll take care of everything for me. We might have to work together a little bit, but the the service experience with Final Loop is also a lot better. Um, and then, with the old bookkeepers, the real time sink would come, during tax season or
Mhm.
preparation for tax season, and just like things like didn't add up, and then so then now there's like a time crunch, and so that would just be super stressful. So that would during tax time it would be a lot more time dedicated to it. Yeah.
Okay, got it. And in terms of, I guess, the way your actual financial process works, what would you say is available, like data or something that you have available that you use now in your business that you didn't have before? Is there anything like that that you're using right now that you didn't have access to before? It's okay if the answer
The
is no. I'm just curious if there's something like that that you
Well, I
specifically.
mean, like, so the main reports that I use are profit and loss and balance. You probably more so the profit and loss because our
Mhm,
balance sheet is quite simple.
mhm,
Um, the problem with, I guess, the old bookkeepers was those were delayed a lot. So you don't get the prior month might take 2, 3, sometimes like 4 weeks to be reconciled. Okay. So with Final Loop, it's basically instantaneous.
mhm.
Um, so that's one thing. You can get that data better. And then the the other just all the other just the for example, there's the profitability dashboard in Final Loop, which is useful. So just being able to see like a month over month comparison of different, kind of cost categories and things like that. So just the reporting is better, more streamlined. It's more set up, I guess, for what I need to look at a quick glance. Not to say like, I guess like maybe some of that stuff, that reporting could have existed like on QuickBooks or something, but you'd have to play around and probably like create some custom reports. And then again, it's going to be delayed. might be delayed like another month.
Mhm.
So those are the things that I appreciate about Final Loop now.
A lot of times customers who are using Finaloop are kind of looking for some inspiration as to how to best use their financials, to improve their operations, to make better decisions. Um, I would love to, like, understand a little bit more about your financial process in general. Like, do you go in every day, once a week, once a month, at the end of the month? What's your process of, like, what when you go in, what are you looking at? What do you actually like, how does it influence some operational decisions you might make? Just to understand how you kind of take that financial process and apply it to your business.
Mhm. Yeah, so I don't know if I'm in Final Loop every day, although it's probably multiple times per week.
Mhm.
I kind of have other dashboards that I'm in every day, like are that kind of track like a daily profit and loss. Is kind of like an e-commerce dashboard. So it's kind of similar to what I would see in Final Loop. So I'm in that kind of every day. But with Final Loop, I'm probably in there a couple times per week. And but with Final Loop, it's not like so much the daily reporting that I need. It's like I need the longer term reportings, and that's where it's and what Final Loop has is all of my expenses in it, like a
Mhm.
true profit and loss. Whereas some of the other like e-commerce dashboards, it's really just giving you a contribution margin, unless you go in there and like add every single cost, which I don't do. So it that data is a bit limited. So when I go to Final Loop, it's more to look at like month over month data. So specifically with expenses and and revenue, and uh, more so on the expenses side, just seeing like, okay, what is our contribution margin month over month? Did we see what is our cost of goods, month over month? Like, are we seeing what are any increases or decreases that we notice? And then what is the reason for those? Or if we're looking at our net profit margin, like, okay, why is it lower this month over last month, or this quarter over last quarter? Okay, let's dive it into that. And so that those are the biggest things that I'm looking at, just like when expenses are getting out of whack in a certain category,
Mhm.
and then just taking action to fix whatever that issue is. um and for that, it's good to have kind of the longer view, month over month, quarter over quarter. And then uh, Final Loop does a good job of categorizing everything, and then you can click into those categories and pretty identify pretty quickly what the cause is, and then work on fixing it.
Mhm. Okay. So when you drill into the categories, are you looking at overall all the transactions? Are you looking at on a vendor by vendor process? Like, what are you looking for when you drill in?
Well, yeah, I'll look vendor by vendor, transaction by transaction, but usually like it's the same vendors over and over again. So it's not like there's a mysterious one that pops up, but the spend on something might go up. Like if our cost of goods goes up, okay, like why is that? Oh, we had a price increase on this product. That accounts for that. Okay, what can we do to maybe mitigate that, or maybe can we go back and negotiate with the suppliers? The biggest one is advertising. So it's just that's by far our biggest expense. So we pay a lot of attention to that category, and have to make sure that we're not going too crazy on ads, because that's what will hurt our net margin the most, is if we start spending too much on ads. It not an efficient level of spend. And so I'll go through vendor by vendor on there. It's not like any vendors are surprising me, but the the level of spend is what we're looking at. And then if it's too high, the next month we're just making efforts be more efficient on our ads or whatever the expense might be. Usually it's ads, just because that's the easiest one to start getting out of control.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you use a separate e-commerce dashboard as well. Which one are you using?
We use Triple Whale.
Triple Whale. Okay, got it. That was actually that leads to my next question. So obviously, when you're using Triple Whale, you're using them also, I'm sure, to track the efficiency of your ad campaigns and how all
Mhm.
that's going, right? What's your do you so if you're using Triple Whale and you're using Finaloop, obviously, they give you different metrics and different data. But when you're tracking specifically, for example, your cash spent on the ads, what's your sort
Mhm.
of process to tie the two together? Because you have data that you're viewing in one to make sure everything is efficient. You have data that you're viewing in the other to make sure that the expenses are in line with the rest of your P&L. So do you have any process to kind of be like, okay, this is how they work together, or is that are they done as two completely separate processes?
They work together. So I mean, like Triple Whale's more like the daily view,
Mhm.
and Vinyl more of a longer term view. But the thing about Triple Whale is, even if your ROAS is good, and you have a good efficiency, it's still, if you're you can, at least for our business, we can still, no matter how efficient it is, I suppose if it's, super efficient, it's not going to matter. But with realistic levels of efficiency, we can still only spend so much money, because we're, as a supplement business, we're not first order profitable.
Mhm.
So from a cash flow perspective, like, even if our efficiency is great, we can only spend so much. And Triple Whale is maybe not the best way to look at that, especially since we don't have all of our expenses input into Triple Whale.
And
So Triple Whale, we get like a contribution margin. It's not a true profit and loss.
mhm.
And so Final Loop is better for that. And so I guess the point that I'm making is, even if our efficiency looks good, there's still a top level, budget on the advertising side that we can't surpass.
Okay.
And Final Loop does a better job of showing us what that is, because we can see our true profit and loss
Mhm.
a little bit easier, because there's no way you're going to be able to put, I mean, unless Triple Whale does integrations with, your bank account and all of the different vendors and stuff like Final Loop has, that
Mhm.
it's not a true profit and
Mhm.
loss. And I'm not going to go in there and manually add everything.
Mhm.
So yeah, they have to be kind of used together like that.
Yeah. No, it makes sense, and we have a lot of customers who are using both, like using Triple Whale on the ad side and
Hmm.
Final for the financials. And I'm always curious because I know one of the things I see with a lot of times with brands is that they track financials and they track marketing and they have their whole operational views as well, but they don't always necessarily know how to combine the two or how to use the financial side in order to influence the make sure that cash flow they have enough to cover the advertising to cover the
Hmm.
inventory to kind of have all of that as one combined picture.
Yeah.
So that's actually very helpful the
Yeah.
way that you kind of explain how
Yeah.
you work with both of them.
Yeah, and that's the key thing there, is the cash flow
Mm-hmm.
considerations, which Triple Whale, just, you can't, if you only looked at Triple Whale, you're totally ignoring the cash situation. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty important.
Great. In terms of like the I guess the different functionalities or features that you use in Final, do you have any ones that you feel like are, really helpful for you on the like, on a consistent basis? Besides for the P&L, obviously, and the general financials?
I like the profitability dashboard, um, because it kind of, I like the cost analysis section. So it kind of breaks down cost of delivery, your marketing, your OpEx, and it just kind of like an easier view of those different like main categories. And then you can see easily month over month, like, is your OpEx increasing, is your marketing increasing, is your cost of delivery increasing or decreasing.
Mhm.
So it makes it's essentially this, the same info as on the P&L, but it's just an easier to read format, and you can pretty quickly identify whether you have a problem in OpEx, marketing, or cost of delivery, and then take action accordingly. So I like that one. Um,
Okay.
that's probably about it. We're not using the inventory feature.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's mostly just that. It's just mostly the reports.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any specific features that are not available in Final that you wish were there?
Um, yeah, it's hard to say. I don't have any amazing ideas. I think just continuing to one thing that I like about you guys is you're engaging with the e-commerce community, which is like, some we never really saw that with the bookkeeping companies that we were with before. So I like so in what I think that's important is to be engaging with people in the e-commerce community, understanding the metrics that are important, understanding kind of the ecosystem or the macro environment. For example, like tariffs are on everyone's mind right now. So
Yeah.
my point being, like, I feel like it's more likely that you guys come out with reporting or tools that are useful in the current situation, and innovating at that level. uh and so, yeah, I feel better about that, and I just feel better that you guys are on the cutting edge, and looking to stay up to date and super relevant.
Amazing.